because what transcendental meditation does at a core level is that you're immersing more in pure awareness, also known as being. And when you're connected to a state of being, you naturally and spontaneously prioritize connection more. It's like a really big symptom of meditating, because you start to actually crave the zest of life. And that's why we're here as humans. We're not here just to be separate. We're here to connect. If not, we would just be oneness, and there's no point of even having a universe. We just have stored potential. Like, it's flourished out into this like crazy, unique biosphere organism for us to then become separate, so we can come back together and experience love through just connection with people, friends, family, etc. So the fact that you've actually, because I experienced the same thing. I was like the most hardcore lone wolf of all time when I was like crushing it in business. It was like I just, everything was transactional, and those transactions had to add up to the end result that I was going after to appease my own sense of self-worth. And so yeah, it's a really natural thing, actually. But thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking me. Thank you for opening this conversation. You've had a phenomenal few years, and you've had, like, what have you done to break out of this? Because you've had such a fast identity shift.
Yeah, thank you. Well, for me, meditation was a big one as well. The biggest, alongside meditation, I did a lot of psychotherapy. So psychotherapy, looking at my kind of patterns that how I got taught to show up when I was younger, to be worthy of love. And for me, my dad gave me a lot of attention if I succeeded, and he was very critical on my performance, because he was ultimately living what he would consider a failure of a life, and he didn't want me to be like that. And he just projected a lot of judgment and critique on the way that I was showing up in every way. And so as kids, because we're dependent, the way that we're parented is not just trying to appease our parents because we don't want to be yelled at. As a kid we have our whole safety dependent upon our parents to look after us, because if we're in the wild by ourselves, we'd die. We don't just keep following in the directions and the way that they mold us for no reason, and we do it to survive. And so we build this thing called a survival script based on the positive strokes of, well done, you did this well, or bad, you didn't do this well. We then form a kind of a rule book or a set of kind of beliefs around who we need to be worthy of love, so that our parents protect us. And for me, I formed a hardcore achiever script with my survival script, where if I didn't achieve, I wasn't worthy of love. So actually going back in time through just closing my eyes and connecting with my inner child, I actually have a picture of him usually around that little dude there.
Oh my God, what a cutie pie.
You can see there how like reserved and shy he is, right?
Oh.
My sister there as well. And yeah, I go back and I like allow him to be heard and understood that he's worthy of love, no matter what. Just he's perfect the way that he is. He doesn't have to change or do anything different to the way that he's showing up right now. And that, even though it's talking to a separate person, like an older version of me, I'm actually talking to myself. And that gives me permission to be like, you know what, exactly like what you were talking about with the harshness and the savage way of approaching life. Like, if you don't get this result, then, you know, you should stew over it and fucking double down and work 3 times as hard. That kind of methodology was what I thought I had to do to actually survive. So changing that. And thank you for honoring my journey. That means a lot, because it does take a little while to get to the other side, because what you do to show up in the world is a strategy that you familiarize yourself with, and to get on the other end and go from like, this is your strategy, and then flip it the whole other way. That transition is really messy.
Painful.
And yeah, it's painful because your predictability and certainty is taken away. But ultimately, if anyone is listening who can relate to that harsh critique of self and needing to perform to be worthy of love, or be anything other than who you are naturally to be worthy of love, when you get to the other side of it, that fullness gives you permission to thrive at so much more of a higher level, because you've got higher, what I call deservability, which means you just think you deserve more, you're worth more, and therefore you do what you have to do to live the life that you feel like you're worthy of living, which is not just success-based, but it's greater love, and you ultimately thrive at a higher level. But it does take a change up there.